Deep Blue beat the world's best chess player in 1997. From that point forward, no human could ever beat an AI at chess ever again. In 2016, AlphaGo beat the world's best human at Go. From that point forward, no human could ever beat an AI at Go ever again. Kevin Wei, the chief product officer of OpenAI, said 2025 is the last year any human will ever be able to beat an AI at software engineering and programming, meaning this is the last year humans will ever have supremacy over an AI at programming. So as we've mentioned previously on this channel, this technology starts within the proximity of itself and then over time expands outward and eats pretty much everything. It starts with language, programming, math, because that is what they use to actually build the technology, and over time it is expanding outwards, eating everything. It's now going to be getting into the marketing realms. If you look at GPT 4.5, that is the first AI model that's actually pretty good at writing copy. GPT-4 and all the previous models were very bad at writing copy for marketing. This one's actually quite good. I think the next model is going to be astoundingly good, like better than any single human copywriter perhaps, or as good as the world's best copywriters. So very soon we're entering this world where any one-dimensional skill that you have, whether it's like writing copy for advertisements or creating creatives or doing some type of arts or doing programming, all of these one-dimensional skills that are solving a specific problem, physically doing the task, all of these, no matter how skilled you are, is going to be automated very soon. And then what will happen is, if you look at this technology, it's optimization. Whenever you set a goal, you set an incentive for the technology. It's like water flowing down a river due to gravity. And the goal that you set is the gravity pulling the optimization of the model. If there is a stone in the path, the model just optimizes right around it, just like water flows right around it. So these models are really good at setting sub-goals on the way to the directive that you set for it. These models cannot set their own directives. So what this really means is the value that we will have as humans is identifying the highest leverage points for us to allocate the AI to. The optimization too. They will set the sub goals on the way to it. They will solve problems along the way, but they will not be able to define the goal themselves because that has a different level of agency that is required that you do have and they don't have. Humans are sentient. We are the sentient observers that have a different level of agency than what these models have. Since AI is a non-sentient observer, it doesn't have qualia, it doesn't have any true desires, it only desires what you optimize it to desire. It only has values that you program into it. You can set an objective and it just goes to the objective. I can make that objective extremely open-ended and wide and say maximize curiosity, and then it will interact and behave in unpredictable ways. Maybe it goes on the internet and looks at conspiracy theories, or maybe it goes and studies the cosmos. I'm not sure what it'll do, but we will approach that one day. But for now, the way AI is it is simply optimization for the objective function that you set for it. It doesn't have the ability to set its own objective function unless, again, like we mentioned, you give it the objective function of maximizing curiosity. But again, you are setting the objective function. You are in control of the system, no matter how intelligent it is, which that is something that many people disagree with. They say, well, one day AI is going to be so intelligent that we just cannot control it. And I think that depends. If you are trying to stop the AI by being in its path and trying to disrupt it that way, of course, you're not going to stop it. But if you are at the control interface and you can click stop, or if you are telling it to do something different, you are at the control interface, and whatever you set the goal to be, it just optimizes for. It's not that this thing wakes up, has extremely high agency like a human, and can decide to do whatever it wants. You need qualia for something like this. These models simply do not have that. So whatever the optimization function is what you set the AI to solve for. One thing people completely forget to realize is that this AI isn't like human intelligence. It's probabilistic, not deterministic. The reason AI is good at writing code and programming is because the code deterministically tells you yes or no. It runs properly or it has an error. And if it has an error, it can detect the context iterate on the problem, and then run it again. And then it'll eventually say yes. That's why AI is good at programming. AI doesn't have a way to deterministically tell intuitively if it got it correctly or not. The only way it can tell if it got it correctly or not is if there's a thing that says good job or a thing that says bad job, right? A human can know without those types of things, okay? So problems like investing where you have like a certain outcome that you want the AI to optimize for, and you just have a little algorithm going in there, that works. Or if you have like a marketing campaign and you're trying to optimize for a certain cost of acquiring a customer, that type of thing works. Or if you have an AI sales agent and you're trying to get it optimized for a particular close rate, those types of things work, where you have a deterministic goal and then you can have a deterministic outcome. The AI cannot set the outcome itself. It can't intuitively know what the outcome is. The intelligence is fundamentally different than human intelligence. Really what this means, since we know AI is just optimization and it optimizes for whatever the sentient observer sets for it, the number one skill any human can build today is having high prudence and high agency, or having mental models and frameworks that you can use as tools to help you identify high points of leverage in the marketplace. So really what I'm trying to say here is once you have AI that's good at all of the like direct skills that are directly doing tasks, and you're just going to be delegating all of the direct task stuff, everything else is going to be you trying to identify the high points of leverage and then having a big vision for the future, a beautiful vision that people can get behind, and then conveying that to the public, but also being able to articulate that vision to the AI agents that you're deploying to help build it. So really, if I were to prioritize the skill set I would be focusing on building today, it would be having high prudence, which is basically the ability to make good decisions, being able to identify high points of leverage in a marketplace, which if you look at Naval Ravikant, he actually has a diagram of the points of leverage. I'll put it up on the screen here. And I would also ruthlessly focus on distilling and simplifying your worldview, distilling and simplifying every single thing that you approach in life into very few pillars, like approaching everything from first principles. If there is some form of complexity anywhere in your life, whether it's business, diet, sleep, relationships, fitness, if you can pull it downwards and distill it into 1, 2, 3, 4, at tops 5 things, 5 fundamental pillars, the very first principles of those things, you now have this interface that you can operate from. It's like you have this point, like all of these little levers that you can pull because you've distilled everything down into the simplest, most fundamental pillars of every single thing. And if you do a super tiny movement on one of those levers, it causes massive change. Meaning you can put in very small units of effort and get out very outsized returns, whether it's fitness, relationships, health, business in general, whatever it is. If you can find those frameworks, have ruthless distillation in every single thing that you do, that is the best skill anybody can learn. If you look at Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, and by the way, I get comments all the time of people saying, dude, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, they literally have like a skewed world model. It's like for a world that hasn't existed in like 80 years. We're going to the future. The world's going to be totally different. Why would you ever take advice from them? You don't take advice from what people tell you to do. You look at how they think about the world. The frameworks and principles that they follow are timeless. The world models that they have, of course, are for a different time. Like their actual advice that they give you isn't what you should be paying attention to. It's how they arrived at the advice that they're giving you. And in those pillars, those principles, the frameworks that they're following is something that you can decide for yourself or not. Is this a timeless framework that still applies, or is this something for a paradigm that hasn't existed before? For these people, for Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, they have the most timeless frameworks, the most timeless principles out of any single human being I have ever seen. Any single human. So I do recommend. There's a YouTube video from Charlie Munger. It's about 1 hour and 15 minutes long, called "The Psychology of Human Misjudgment." The Psychology of Human Misjudgment, and I recommend reading it, or not reading it, listening to it, and then also just watch all of Charlie Munger's videos. Watch all of Warren Buffett's videos, read all of their books, learn how to think the way they do. That's the biggest thing we should be doing, is like, how can we be the wisest individuals where our frame of thinking gives us leverage? Our frame of viewing the world gives us leverage. Because we're going to this place where we're all capital allocators. We're all CEOs. We're all chairmen. Doing the things, doing the tasks is a terrible thing to do. It is low leverage. We're going to this place where we're going to be these beings sitting up on these high chairs with our neural augmentations, just thinking, and things will be happening around us. Trillions of dollars per hour of value will be created while we're just thinking by our AI agents. Obviously, I'm making shit up at this point, but you see what I'm saying. Being in this high dimensional thought abstract space of thinking where you're viewing things from a very complex world model point of view. That's where you should be living there. If you're focused on programming skills, marketing skills, automation skills, or any of these skills, they're wrong skills. Your skill should be thinking at a very high leveraged position. So how can you distill your world, everything that you're doing, into a few fundamental pillars, as we mentioned before? How can we simplify our lives into a simple framework? Well, what I would do, and this is what I've done ruthlessly to my own life, literally on a monthly basis, what I do is I use the framework eliminate, automate, delegate in every single category of my life, whether it is business, fitness, just like operating around my house, every single fucking thing. Eliminate, automate, delegate. If it's not efficient and it's not effective, get fucking rid of it. Like, you don't have to do this. I'm a little extreme. This is just how I like to live. I enjoy doing these things. I do these things because I like to do them. But if there's something that I find that is like, I'm not like a very sentimental person. That might sound like to some people fucked up, but to me it's just like normal. Like, there's a lot of things where like, oh, this is from my childhood. It doesn't give me any use. Get rid of it. But there's some things where it's like, they're from my childhood and I'm like, yeah, I'll keep it. But then there's some things where, just follow the framework, eliminate, automate, delegate. I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, if you look at your business, anywhere that there is redundancy, eliminate it. If there is not redundancy and it's being delegated and not automated, but you can automate it, automate it. If you can't eliminate it, you have to automate it. If you can't automate it, you have to delegate it. If it's redundant, get rid of it. If you can get rid of anything, delete it. Delete it, delete it. Every single aspect of your life. Do that ruthlessly. Play out the theory of constraints until you're left with just a simple algorithm. Because then you will have these little levers that you could just pull, and they will cause drastic effects on the other side. And once you have like a frame of thinking where you're constantly doing that to every single part of your life, ruthlessly, every single part of your work, you will have AI agents that you can just attach on the other side of these little levers. And then you just communicate simply to these agents that are going and doing the things within a very efficient and effective way. So that's just the way my brain works. If you don't want to do that, don't do that. I'm just saying, if you don't do that, I'm probably going to beat you if we're talking about a competition. But I hope this was valuable. I hope you found some like frameworks that you can apply. Eliminate, automate, delegate is the most important one. And the way of thinking about distillation, the ability to identify a point of high leverage. Again, the Naval-Ravikant hierarchy diagram here is something that you can use for some help there. You often hear me talking about the 5 pillars of leverage: community, energy, materials, intelligence, and labor. Anything within those 5 pillars, I think these are the new pillars of leverage. Like, everything that Naval talks about is a good way to get to these pillars. These are the pillars of leverage, and then media and content and code are good ways to get to the 5 pillars of leverage that I talk about in this YouTube channel. Because these are the real pillars now. For where we're going, the 5 pillars of leverage: community, intelligence, labor, materials, and energy. If you can harness these, you're going to be good. Like, these are the 5 pillars of civilization itself. people are going to be wanting to build civilization really far. We're going to be a spacefaring civilization very soon. If you have any of these resources, people are going to love you and they're going to want to be your best friend, and they're going to want to pay you lots of resources too, so that you can have some of your resources, or you're going to be bartering resources, whatever, right? So all I did is I laid out a bunch of principled ways of thinking about where we're going. High agency, high prudence, high leverage thinking, mental models, ways of viewing the world so that you can take actions that have drastic effects from very little input. That's all that matters. That's all I'm focusing on. Also, before you leave, I have a community linked in the description below. Effectively, what we are doing is we are getting entrepreneurs, engineers, people just trying to adapt with the changes of this technology and really stay on the cutting edge so that we can propel ourselves forward with it. So we have, again, entrepreneurs, engineers, etc. in there. Basically, what we're doing is we are all working together to identify points of high leverage and have discussions to really find the frameworks, find the points of high leverage in the marketplace so that we can start to take action today to maximize our positions in the future. If that's something you're interested in, link in the description below. The long-term vision is to build a decentralized economy effectively, have Web3 technologies like decentralized finance so that we can barter and trade NFTs, arts, experiences within VR, gaming realms. All of these different things will be over time meshed into this platform, which sounds like a crazy big vision, which is why we're talking about agency in this video, right? So that we can have these visions. And with AI, I genuinely think they're going to be pretty, not easy, but they're going to be easier to come into fruition for any single individual who is committed to tackling the challenges of being a creative, an entrepreneur, etc. in the future. That being said, if that's something you're interested in, join. We're going to have eventually our own cloud distributed computing cluster. So anybody who has their compute can hook it up and get paid in passive income, or rent out other compute and use it to run big local models. So all of these things are coming very soon. Super excited. If you want to get in early at a super cheap price, now is the time to join.